Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. So the earnings call is now over. I watched the entire earnings call. I saw the Q&A and wanted to do a recap in this video, speaking in a bit more detail as to what transpired during the call and what was said during the Q&A. So T-Mobile had, as I said in the previous video, a blowout quarter. Another beat and raise quarter on CapEx guidance, a beat and raise on the guidance for the total postpaid net adds for the year. I mean, just an awesome quarter. And I feel like it's the most complete quarter they've ever had, right? Last quarter was very close to being a complete quarter, but they had a negative net income. So this quarter they did guide down a bit negative on that net income, but it was still positive. So that helped, in my opinion, make it a more complete quarter. Now, do they still have work to do? Of course, but they are very competitive. So you got to look at them. I think Verizon and AT&T have to look at T-Mobile as a serious threat now. Even before this quarter, maybe AT&T and Verizon didn't really look at T-Mobile like, whatever, they can't do it, right? But they are a serious share taker in all the segments that they're now competing in. And they made that very clear again today. Even on the business side, they're taking share, they said. When they give the companies phones to test, whether that be 50 or 100 devices, they're included in that category on the win share. And they're taking share. I've been saying some of the companies on the previous videos like AutoZone, Circle K. T-Mobile got the big Circle K account. Now, that's not huge, but they made that happen. As an employee retention tool for Circle K, T-Mobile stepped in and they got that account. So I think that's a pretty big deal because T-Mobile was never able to compete in any of that. Now these accounts are coming in. Delta, Boeing, and who knows who else they're working with. I even heard the IRS. The IRS was mentioned today. That's a federal government account. So they're getting these bigger accounts that mean a lot. It's not just that they were getting the little mom and pop shops. No, and they're now getting much, much bigger accounts. And I think moving forward, they will get even bigger enterprise accounts that'll work with them just based on the value play. And then Callie Field also said that some of these businesses are looking to fully transition to 5G by the end of 2022. So they're looking T-Mobile's way. So that was also very big that they mentioned that during the call, because I think that's another big reason why Verizon and AT&T need to really look out for T-Mobile and have a plan B ready to pivot. I've been saying it for a while now that Verizon needs to lower price. But Verizon, of course, is going to do everything before lowering price, right? They're going to lay off more people. They're going to make these changes. They're going to do everything in the book before lowering the price. And T-Mobile is already moving on to other things that are going to potentially make Verizon accelerate the need to lower prices. Like I said, they may have to budge on business eventually too. And that's what T-Mobile was saying, that they had the lowest business churn ever in the company. They don't really disclose those numbers on the financial sheets, but that's what Mike Sievert said during the quarter call. So that was, to me, it's more and more apparent that they need to look out for T-Mobile. They really have to. T-Mobile is in the zone, so to speak. They're just going according to their plan, and they're taking share in a big way. So a couple things that I found very interesting. Once again, for this quarter, 60% of new customers chose Magenta Max. That's huge for the company. They didn't have a big premium play. So there's more of a upsell into the Magenta Max. So that percentage is increasing for the overall base. And that's going to lead to higher ARPU and ARPA. They're saying that's set to increase by 2%. That's a big deal for T-Mobile. It is. Also, another stat that I find very interesting, they at the beginning of the year they disclosed that they can effectively compete in 30% of the small markets and rural towns that they have categorized. It's 775. They felt confident that they can compete with the network in 30% of those markets. They said at that time that by the end of 2022, they would be at 50% of those markets that they can compete effectively in with the network. They're already there now. They just disclosed that as of September 30th, which is when the quarter ended. They are now effectively able to compete in 50% of the 775 small markets and rural towns. I mean, you could do the math on that. Half of the 775 markets, they are confident that they have the right to win with the network. And they are now saying by the end of the year, they're going to be at 60%. So that network is growing at a incredible pace. It was even said during the call that this quarter was the highest CapEx spend in the company's history and the most work that they've ever done with the decommissioning, upgrading, et cetera, et cetera. So very interesting, right? Everything is moving along just fine. They're going to probably have another blowout quarter in this fourth quarter. It's a very heavy holiday shopping quarter. So T-Mobile's going to, once again, look very attractive and be positioned to look attractive to the switcher pool. And Verizon, once again, is going to look very different because they are still not budging on price. They're dropping prices on prepaid a little bit here and there. They're coming in with some other value segments, like putting fixed wireless access on Straight Talk. But Verizon postpaid itself, they're not touching at all. So T-Mobile is going to look even more attractive, I feel, this holiday season. And depending what additional promos they put out on deals, we may have another, raise and beat quarter in Q4. And it is very likely for that to happen. So another thing that I wanted to point out too that I felt was very interesting during this call, Mike Sievert said that they are still in a more of a learning phase, right? Testing and learning. That's when he brought up T-Fiber, which is something that they now operate in on a leased basis in New York. And they're not doing that to point out to the market like, hey, we're starting this business, or hey, we're doing this. No, they're learning how to operate fiber. They've never owned and operated fiber, so they're learning. They've never owned and operated a home broadband segment, so they're learning. They've been really good at doing the cell phone thing, right, and operating the network. And now they're tasked, hey, can you actually operate a home broadband network and make it to where the customer actually likes it and actually says and think like, hey, this is a good network and this is a good product. And Mike Sievert said during the call that they are still learning and they're getting better at it, right? They're going to make certain changes. Are they going to have churn? Are customers going to leave? Of course. That's going to happen by default because it's not going to work for everyone. But when T-Mobile discloses numbers like they do, they're always talking on a national scale. Not everyone has the same experience. That's why when most people comment and speak on their personal experience, it's anecdotal. And the numbers really don't reflect, the churn numbers at least, really don't reflect that there's a huge problem. It's just slightly above AT&T at 0.88. AT&T was at 0.84. So customers are always going to leave and churn. There's always going to be somebody's going to have a great customer service experience. Some other person is going to let one bad customer service call affect their entire perception on T-Mobile. That's just how it is nowadays. So we can't really take that into consideration when somebody just comes out and says, "Oh, this is my bad experience." No, you have to look at it from a national data set. And that's what T-Mobile is speaking of when they say that, hey, our net promoter scores are great on this product, for fixed wireless access. But here comes Timothy in the comments. Oh, no, it sucks. I can't play. I can't do anything. So that's how you got to look at it. The Net Promoter Score is the indication that it's working, that customers like it at a large, massive scale, not a individual anecdotal experience. So you got to keep that in mind as you are looking through the numbers, as you are watching this video, as you're listening to my commentary. I always speak from a large scale data set, right? Whether that be scientific, whether that be crowdsourced, that's always what I'm speaking of. Net Promoter Score is crowdsourced, right? That's people telling you hey, this is actually good. And that's if it wasn't, then the customer would tell you, hey, this sucks. But it hasn't changed too much because at scale, for most average consumers, it works great. Like I've said in those individual update videos for the home internet product, for those of you who are heavy gamers, for those of you who are power users that have 8 4K TVs in your house, this product is probably not for you. But again, that's a very small percentage if you're going by the large mass scale. So all of that has to be taken in consideration. And T-Mobile, again, is still learning. Like I said in the previous video and previous posts, T-Mobile is adding in new aggregation switches into the network, and that'll be more at scale in 2023 to better load balance the mobile subscriber versus the home internet traffic. They're doing that actively. It's leaving the lab, it's exiting the lab, and it's now making it commercial. And they're going to scale that very quickly. And what's that going to do? It's going to make it a better experience for the consumer. Eventually, they're going to put that home internet fixed wireless access traffic onto the 5G core. That's going to make it more efficient and a better experience for the consumer. And then at some point, Mike Sievert also said, when we see a new business case that needs to be fully capital funded on a different business plan, then we will alert the market that we're going to do so. Right now, he says there's no need to say anything because we are still working on a capacitive backed model where we haven't even hit peak. So in other words, what they're saying is that 8 to 9 million that they want to hit by 2025 is not going to require any additional capital plan. That plan to get to those amounts, to that amount of growth for fixed wireless access is all backed off of the already existing CapEx that they're funding. That's it. Maybe beyond 2026, they're guiding 10 million. Maybe, to get to 15 million or maybe 20 million, they're going to need a fully funded capital plan, right? That's when they're going to tap into their millimeter wave, point to point. All of that becomes a possibility at that point. But I think for now, unless they start seeing churn spike on that product in a big way, I don't think they need an additional funded capital plan. It really looks like the capacity right now versus the amount of users they actually allow per sector seems just fine for them. I mean, they added close to 600K customers of fixed wireless access. That may only accelerate. They're now at a total of 2.1 million customers total on that fixed wireless access product, and they're guiding to get to 8 to 9 million by 2025. So it looks like they're fully on track of doing so. So that's just kind of what I wanted to speak on. Probably a longer video than I wanted to make, but I wanted to kind of get those points out there. Everything else, the in-between stuff, didn't want to really discuss, like, stock buybacks and SoftBank. That's just naturally going to happen just based off of the success of the company. They're going to have more stock buybacks. They're beating EBITDA, right? The revenue is going to get better. I know they missed it, but that's going to get better too eventually. The net income should also be increasing. They're going to blow the free cash flow, calling it now. They're going to blow it out the water because they are usually very close to hitting their guidance anyway. And they're due to hit like 17 billion by 2025 of free cash flow, which is right in line with what Verizon and AT&T have. In some cases, they are probably going to be even better on free cash flow. So that's just some of the stuff that I wanted to discuss. So leave all your comments in the comment section down below. I will be checking for other things. I will be, of course, rewatching the earnings call. I will be reading some other articles from the analysts, and I'll be, there's going to be some reports that are coming out later on tonight from UBS and Bank of America and all those. I'll be looking at those. But again, to close out the video, great quarter from T-Mobile. I mean, really putting Verizon and AT&T on notice that they're coming. Verizon was brought up several times during this earnings call because they're losing. I mean, you can talk about them in any way, shape, or form you'd like. They're not competing. And then, on the network side, T-Mobile seems to be blowing it out the water in terms of being ahead of their network expansion. So, I mean, that's even a bigger danger zone for Verizon to get into. If T-Mobile can even get remotely close on geographically matching Verizon's coverage, even if they get within 5%, for example, that right there is danger zone for Verizon because T-Mobile is cheaper. They bring the value. They're louder. They have better marketing. I mean, that right there is competition 101 for Verizon, and they're not competing. They're laying down. So again, leave all your comments in the comment section. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.